Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here, along with Daniel Marins and Mitch Molaski. That music means it is time for How It Should Be with Daniel Marins. And Daniel, today the topic is expanding Social Security and Medicare. Explain.
Right, David. You're going to hear people all over TV, and we have for years now, that Social Security and Medicare are broke, that they're driving the country broke. But it's really it's one of the most painful lies to hear all the time, because in fact, Social Security is the solution and Medicare is the solution. Just because something looks like something on a balance sheet doesn't mean it doesn't save us money overall if it were shifted into the private sector. So to give you an example, Social Security is almost second to last in the Organization for Economic Cooperation for Development in replacing people's pre-retirement earnings, replacing people's earnings when they were in their working years. And that means that the United States doesn't rank very, very highly as having an extremely generous Social Security program. Now, this comes as other sources of retirement income. Traditionally, we've talked about a three-legged stool. That three-legged stool is actually really, right now, almost only one leg. It used to be Social Security, pension plans, and personal savings. Well, defined benefit pensions are on the way becoming extremely uncommon. The pension plans that have replaced them, 401ks, are extremely risky and hard to accumulate a large amount in unless you're earning a lot of money. Same thing with individual savings. Home values have been devastated by the recent financial crisis. They're not going to be recovering in time for this generation to retire. We have a serious retirement income crisis on our hands right now. So we have the remaining sturdy leg, Social Security. Well, Social Security as it stands is it keeps all but 10% of the elderly out of poverty, and that's great. But we need to eliminate elderly poverty altogether. We could also try and eliminate near poverty for the elderly and near poverty for the disabled. Those are people that are technically above the poverty line but don't have much money to speak of. So how would we do that? Well, the first way that we would do it is we could expand benefits across the board in a way that would disproportionately help people on the lower end of the earning spectrum. The best way to do that is there are these primary insurance factors, how the benefit formula is calculated. And the way the benefit formula is calculated is it's a progressive benefit, so that they take your average index monthly earnings over your best 35 years of earnings. They replace 90% of the first $800 you made over the course of your career on average over your lifetime. They replace 32% of the next $2,000, and they replace 15% of the next amount up to the cap. If you just increase that 90% of the first 800 to 100% of the first 800, you're looking at a marginal 10% increase in benefits that would disproportionately affect people that rely on earnings on the lower end of the earning spectrum. That's the first benefit increase I'd institute. The second benefit increase that I talk about is pay widowed spouses 75% of the benefit with a cap for so that it doesn't go above a certain level, so that not doing it for rich widows. You could also give 5 to 10 years of caregiver credits. Count those years as working years. Count the years that people spend taking care of their children or taking care of disabled, taking care of elderly relatives as years that go toward your Social Security work history. Now, there are also changes that other plans have included that they've included as offsets to benefit cuts that they're implementing. I don't think that's a good solution at all. Okay, the fact of the matter is Social Security benefits are going to peak out at 6% of GDP, and they're almost entirely self-funded. This is something we can eminently afford. It's not a problem at all. So what I would do is I'd take these two benefits. Specifically, I'm thinking about providing a benefit bump up at age 85, phased in over 5 years. So for people in their late old age who are winding down their savings, in many cases they're widowed, and so they don't necessarily have the spouse that was earning to help take care of them, and we see an increase in poverty in that period. If we phase in a 5% increase that would come in at around age 85, we think that that would be tremendously helpful. And we'd also like to have a special minimum benefit that would make sure that all benefits are 125% of poverty regardless of your earnings history. The last benefit increase I would talk about for Social Security, if we had our druthers and we were having, you know, millionaires pay their fair share into the program, maybe even see a modest payroll tax rate increase. If we increase, for instance, the payroll tax rate by 1%, that would only cost the median average family 50 cents a week over the course of 20 years, a bargain that I think many people would take. Then we could do all this and more. And the last thing that I would add is reinstate the student benefit, which is that currently, if the earner in your family dies while you're a child, then you get Social Security benefits for each child and the surviving spouse. Currently, that only goes up to age 18.
Right.
There used to be a measure that said that if you continued on to some form of post-secondary education, whether it was college or an associate's degree or something like that, you could continue to get benefits through college to help you pay for college. I believe, I don't think it was in play when Paul Ryan received survivor's benefits that helped him pay for college, but it was in play through the late 70s, if not early 80s.
And the way to pay for all of these increases in benefits is simply to raise the cap? You think that's the best way to do it?
If you get rid of the cap and the economy improves, then we're looking at getting rid of the entire shortfall. If, like I said, you look at other ways to increase revenues, such as treating certain flexible salary reduction plans like 401ks and taxing them for Social Security purposes, or raising the payroll tax rate, which I think that we should be very, very open to, then you can finance these add-ons. I encourage people to look at modernizeSocialSecurity.org. Dr. Maya Rockymore, the host of Pivot Point, wrote a report with the Commission to Modernize Social Security. It's called Plan for a New Future, the Impact of Social Security Reform on People of Color. We're looking at a new generation of people that have lower earnings histories, many of them people of color who may have lower earning history for reasons of historic discrimination. That's something we need to take into account with Social Security. Last thing I'd say, Medicare, it's very simple. Make it Medicare for all. Get rid of the words age 65 in front of Medicare. And like every other country in the world that has a government health insurance plan, we'd have lower health care costs and greater access. You and I wouldn't have to deal with all this nonsense that we deal with in the private insurance markets. I've spent hours on the phone with the private insurance companies. They're terrible, they're awful, and they're looking to make a dime on denying me care. I don't like that. I don't want that at my health insurance company. I want real health insurance choice, at least would involve a public option.
And that is how it should be, Daniel Mehrens. I'm with you. Medicare for all, and I agree. Extend Social Security benefits. Great segment. As always, Daniel Mehrens. Wonderful job. By the way, folks, Happy New Year to everybody. We got some great stuff coming up in 2013. Thanks to everybody who made 2012 possible here at We Act Radio. Thanks to all of you, our listeners, and now our viewers who are watching us on YouTube. On behalf of Daniel Mehrens, Mitch Molaski, Alan Rosenblatt, Ben Barnett, Keith Atkinson, Charlie Mitchell, Cliff Schechter, Kimon Freeman, Alex Lawson, Rich Webster, Pete Callahan, and the entire crew here at We Act Radio. On behalf of everybody here, thanks for being part of our program. We will see you in 2013. I'm David Shuster. Have a great New Year's, everybody. We'll see you next year and next week.